When my business failed, my brother told everyone I stole from our family fund. At dinner, he slammed his fork and said, "You're just a leech with a laptop." My mother whispered, "He's not one of us anymore." I let them cut me off, but years later, when a judge unsealed the account logs in court, they turned pale because I was 32 when my life fell apart. Up until that point, I'd always thought of myself as the dependable one in the family. The one who kept his head down, worked hard, and didn't ask for much. I wasn't flashy like my older brother Nathan, and I wasn't the golden child who could do no wrong. I was the quiet one, the one who kept to himself, the one who started a small tech business in Charleston, South Carolina, because I believed in building something honest, even if it wasn't glamorous. I'd been running my business for 3 years, scraping by, taking on clients, and building slowly. Then I hit a wall. A client. My biggest client at the time backed out of a major contract, citing budget cuts. That deal was supposed to carry me through the next year. Without it, I was dead in the water. I was desperate, but I wasn't reckless. That's when I went to my parents. We had a family fund, something my dad started years ago, a sort of family safety net. It was there for emergencies, life events, or support when times got tough. My parents were always talking about family first, how we'd all stick together, no matter what. So, I approached them, laid out my situation, and asked for a loan to get me through the rough patch. I even showed them my books, my projections, and my plan for paying it back within 2 years. At first, they agreed. My dad nodded, my mom smiled thinly, and Nathan barely glanced up from his phone. I thought that was the end of it. I thought we were family. But a month later, my business folded. I couldn't hold on anymore. I shut it down, sold off what I could, and took a job doing IT work for a small logistics company in Atlanta. I didn't ask for more money. I didn't complain. I just accepted it. That's when the real nightmare began. At Thanksgiving dinner that year, I came home, hoping to at least see my family and let them know I was doing my best to move forward. But as soon as I sat down, Nathan, my perfect, charming, never wrong brother, slammed his fork down on the table so hard it rattled the glasses. He stared at me across the table and said, loud enough for everyone to hear, "You're just a leech with a laptop. That's all you are. You used us. You stole from us. You're not even family anymore." I felt my throat close up. My hands were shaking. I tried to speak, but then my mother leaned in, looked me dead in the eyes, and whispered, "He's not one of us anymore." I can still hear those words. Nobody stood up for me. Not my dad. Not my uncle. Not even my cousins. They just sat there, staring at their plates. It was like I had become invisible, or worse, some kind of pariah. I left that night without saying another word. I drove back to Atlanta in silence, and I never went back. For the next few years, I kept my head down. I worked hard, saved what little I could, and tried to move on. I didn't go to family events. I didn't call. They didn't call me, either. It was like I never existed. But karma has a way of working things out. About 5 years after that dinner, I got a call from a lawyer in Charleston. There was a court case involving the family fund. Turns out, Nathan had been managing it all these years. He convinced my parents that he was the responsible one, the successful one, the one they could trust. But he wasn't. The lawyer told me they'd uncovered serious financial discrepancies. In plain terms, Nathan had been stealing from the family fund for years. He'd been funneling money into private accounts, paying off his credit cards, taking luxury trips, and even buying a boat in Hilton Head. All while he told everyone I was the thief. When the case went to court, I sat in the back, silent. My parents were there, front and center, looking tense and uncomfortable. Nathan, sitting next to them, looked cocky at first, until the judge started reading from the unsealed account logs. I watched their faces. My mother went pale, her mouth opening and closing like a fish. My father's hands started to shake. And Nathan? He sat there, frozen, while the judge read out loud. Nathan Blake Simmons, transactions totaling $327,000 in unauthorized withdrawals from the family fund over a period of 7 years. The courtroom was dead silent. The judge asked if there were any objections. My parents didn't say a word. They just stared at the floor. The lawyer handed over the rest of the logs. The ones showing my loan had been fully documented, approved, and accounted for. The loan I had been shamed for. The loan they'd used to cut me out of the family. I didn't say a word. I didn't need to. The truth was loud enough. Nathan's sentencing was coming up, and the judge made it clear this wasn't going to end well for him. And as for my parents, they tried to reach out to me afterward. They left voicemails, emails, even showed up at my door once. But I wasn't ready to let them back in. Not yet. This isn't over. Not by a long shot. I thought I could just move on after the court case. I thought maybe, just maybe, they'd finally leave me alone. But of course, they didn't. About 2 weeks after the courtroom bombshell, my phone rang. It was my mother. I let it go to voicemail. Her voice was quiet, almost timid. She said, "I know we made mistakes. Please, can we talk?" I didn't call her back. Then the emails started. First from her, then from my father. Then, of course, Nathan himself tried to reach me. He sent a long, rambling message saying the court case was all a misunderstanding, and that he never meant to hurt anyone. That he only did what he had to, because I was bleeding the family dry. I almost threw my laptop across the room. He had the nerve to spin it like I had forced his hand. That I had made him the bad guy. Like he wasn't the one stealing from the fund for years while I was scraping by, paying rent late, and wondering how I'd afford groceries. I ignored all of them. Blocked their numbers. Changed my email. I thought that was it. But it wasn't. A month later, I got served at my apartment in Atlanta. Nathan, somehow, had filed a civil suit against me. He was claiming I had defamed him by allowing the court case to go public and damaged his reputation and future earnings. He was asking for damages. I sat there in my apartment, holding the papers, my hands shaking so bad I could barely read. I felt my stomach twist into knots. He was suing me. For what? For the truth? I called the lawyer who had been handling the family fund case. He was just as stunned as I was. "It's desperation," he said. "But don't underestimate him. People like Nathan, they'll burn down the house just to keep you out of it." We filed a response. My lawyer was good, very good. He wasn't going to let Nathan get away with this. Then came the next twist, during the discovery phase, when both sides had to turn over documents, emails, financial records. My lawyer called me one evening and said, "You're going to want to see this." Nathan hadn't just stolen from the family fund. He'd also taken out a second mortgage on my parents' house without their knowledge, forged my father's signature, and funneled that money into a shell company registered in Florida. A shell company named Blake Tech Ventures, LLC? The name stopped me cold. Because that was the name Nathan had mocked me for years ago, back when I first started my little tech business. He'd laughed at me, said, "You think you're some kind of startup founder? You're just a leech with a laptop." But he'd used my name. He'd built his fake empire off the same thing he shamed me for. I showed up in court the next month, ready to fight. And when the judge saw the new evidence, his eyebrows shot up. He ordered a deeper investigation. And that's when it all started to unravel. The investigation kept digging, and the more they dug, the worse it got for Nathan. Turns out, Blake Tech Ventures, LLC wasn't just a shell company. It was a full-blown operation. Nathan had been funneling money from the family fund, the mortgage on my parents' house, and even fraudulent loans he took out in my father's name. All of it feeding into this fake business that looked impressive on paper. Website, marketing, the works, but was really just a front for his spending. Worse yet, the court-appointed forensic accountant uncovered another twist. Nathan had also been siphoning off money from our grandmother's trust fund, the one she'd left for medical expenses in her old age. My grandmother had Alzheimer's. She couldn't speak for herself anymore. Nathan had been managing her accounts, too, and quietly bleeding them dry. That was the moment I realized this wasn't just about me. He wasn't just trying to ruin my life, he was willing to destroy anyone to prop himself up. I remember sitting in my apartment, staring at the case files my lawyer had sent over, my heart pounding so loud it felt like a drum in my ears. The paper trail was insane. Dozens of transfers, wire payments to offshore accounts, even luxury purchases disguised as business expenses. He bought a condo in Miami, a sports car in his girlfriend's name, and paid off gambling debts. The audacity of it all. And the worst part? When my parents were interviewed by the investigators, they tried to downplay everything. My mother said, "Nathan was just trying to protect the family's assets. He's always been so good with money." Good with money? He was a thief. My father? He just sat there, nodding, eyes on the table. It was like they couldn't accept the truth, even when it was right in front of them. I wanted to scream. Then the final twist came, one I never saw coming. The forensic team found an email. An old one, buried deep in the records. It was from Nathan to my parents, dated the week after I took the loan from the family fund. The subject line was simple. "We need to make him the scapegoat." In the email, Nathan laid out a plan to frame me. He told them my business was a dead end, and that it's better if we cut him loose now before he drags us all down. He told them to stop supporting me, spread the word that I had misused family money, and make it clear to the rest of the family that I wasn't trustworthy. And they went along with it. My own parents let him do it. They threw me to the wolves so Nathan could keep up his facade. I sat there with that email in my hands, shaking so bad I thought I'd drop it. I felt sick, like I couldn't breathe, like my entire world had tilted off its axis. And the worst part was, after all that, they still tried to call me. Still left voicemails, still sent emails saying they missed me, asking if I'd come for Christmas, saying we could talk things through. Talk things through? They didn't even realize how far gone they were. My lawyer told me we had a solid case, both for defending myself against Nathan's civil suit and for pursuing criminal charges against him. But I wasn't done. Not by a long shot. They thought they could rewrite the story. They thought they could make me the villain and get away with it. But I was going to make sure the world knew the whole truth. The day of Nathan's sentencing arrived, and I made sure I was there. I sat quietly in the back of the courtroom, watching as the pieces finally fell into place. Nathan walked in wearing a suit, but it didn't fit right anymore. He looked smaller somehow, like the weight of everything was finally catching up to him. His hair was thinner, his eyes darting around nervously. Gone was the confident, cocky brother who used to smirk at me across the dinner table. The judge read through the charges: embezzlement, fraud, elder financial abuse, forgery, and tax evasion. The list went on for 20 minutes. When it was over, Nathan tried to stand up and speak, tried to give some half-baked apology about how he was just trying to help the family, and never meant for things to get so out of hand. But the judge wasn't having it. The courtroom was dead silent when the sentence was handed down. 25 years in federal prison, no chance of parole for the first 15. Nathan's face strained of color. He stumbled back into his seat like the air had been knocked out of him. His lawyer patted him on the back, but even he looked like he'd seen a ghost. I didn't say a word. I just watched. But the fallout wasn't over. Not even close. Because when the investigation wrapped, they found that my mother and father had knowingly helped Nathan hide some of the money. They signed off on documents, let him use their accounts, and even moved money into trusts under their own names. The judge called it what it was: aiding and abetting. They didn't get jail time, but they were fined hundreds of thousands of dollars. Everything they had, wiped out. They were forced to sell the family home in Charleston, the lake house in the Carolinas, and even my mother's prized jewelry collection that had been in the family for 3 generations. Gone. My parents tried to call me again after that, of course. Sent letters, left voicemails, emails that started with, "We never meant to hurt you," and "Family is family." I read the first letter. I didn't read the others. Because here's the thing, I wasn't innocent either. I'd spent years stewing in resentment, letting my anger simmer in the background. I let them think they'd won, that I was gone for good, while I quietly built my case. I didn't give them the benefit of the doubt. I didn't confront them head-on when I could have. I let them dig their own graves, knowing it would all catch up to them eventually. I'm not proud of how long I waited, but I'm not sorry either. Nathan rots in prison now, his name a stain in the news. My parents live in a small apartment on the outskirts of town, barely scraping by on what little they could save after the fines. And me? I stayed in Atlanta. I built my life back up slowly, without them. I have a small circle of friends now, people who actually see me for who I am, not for what I could give them. I still hear their names sometimes, see them in the paper, but I don't reach out. The last time I heard from my mother, she left a voicemail. "We're family. Please call us back. We're sorry." I deleted it without listening to the end. Because they were right about one thing. I'm not one of them anymore.